You guys all ready to go? Ready, Ron? Yeah. All right.
Good job.
All right, I'm going to call the May 5th meeting of the West Des Moines City Council to order and invite you all to stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Just give us a second. It's going to take us a while to stand here. Welcome, everybody, to Student Government Day, one of our favorite days here in the council chambers. Okay, please sign in.
Who's absent?
Councilman Trevilian is going to be a few minutes late today, but he is on his way.
Go ahead and say it.
4 members present.
Okay, Ryan, have there been any changes to the agenda?
No changes, Your Honor.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as distributed?
Motion approved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
I'm going to do yes, I'm voting. You have to vote no.
Okay, go ahead.
4 yes.
Okay, well,
Okay, moving on to item 2, Citizens Forum. This is a time for anybody in the audience that would like to address the council on any item that is not either part of public hearings or new business, item 6 or 7. Is there anybody that would like to address the council for Citizens Forum? If so, come up to the podium here, give us your name and address for the record. We'd ask that you keep it to 5 minutes or less, that you keep it civil and respectful, and also that you keep it germane to, well, not on this topic, sorry. Go ahead, MJ. Suppose you can talk about anything you want in this section.
Well, I'll try and keep it germane.
Okay. At least the city council business,
Yes.
hopefully.
So MJ Hogue, 413 2nd Street, West Des Moines, Iowa, which I would hope it was West Des Moines. So I see you have a bicycle proclamation on the agenda, which is very fun as a regular cyclist. And one of the things that it says is that bicycle is a viable and environmentally sound form of transportation, which is also very true. But as you might remember from me presenting way back in December, that a big part of what makes cycling viable. Not sure what happened to my Zoom there. A big part of what makes bicycling viable is having a reliable place to park when you get there. That is not. So, and as you may remember, back in December, I pointed out that our existing bicycle parking makes it difficult to rely on bicycle parking to actually go somewhere. So I just thought I'd ask for an update. Where you said, Mr. Mayor, that you'd look into it. So where are we on that?
Yeah, I think what we're looking at doing is trying to figure out how to create some sort of public-private partnership through a grant program. I'll be just dead honest with you, MJ, I haven't had time to talk to staff about it at this point in time, but it is on my radar, I promise you. We will have a discussion about it. We'll probably take it through one of the city council subcommittees that it's appropriate to go to and try to figure that out. But I think the plan is to try to figure out how we can come up with some sort of a grant program, small grant for businesses that are interested in doing it, do it as a pilot program, and go from there.
Okay, well, what I asked for was code changes, and all you got to do for code changes is tell Lynn to make it happen.
Yeah, I suppose we can review the code changes as well at that time. So why don't you make sure that we get a copy of this? We'll take a look through it and we'll lump it all together and consider both of those things.
I appreciate it. It's always good when proclamations are backed with policy. So thank you much.
Thanks, MJ.
Okay, anybody else in the chamber for Citizens Forum? If not, then I will go online for Citizens Forum. Is there anybody online for Citizens Forum? Please hit *6, not #6, but *6 to unmute yourself and give us your name and address for the record. Again, 5 minutes or less, civil and respectful, if you could. And before we recognize anybody, why don't we go ahead and take attendance one more time, if you guys could sign in now that Councilman Trevilian is here.
Yes.
5 members present.
Okay. Anybody online for Citizens Forum, please hit *6 to unmute yourself. Give us your name and address for the record. Going once. Going twice. And Citizens Forum is closed. Moving on to item 3, Mayor, Council, Manager Report, Other Entities Update. I will start down here with City Manager Tom Hadden.
Sam?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few items to share today. Our police weekend celebration is Thursday, May 15th at the police station. Please join us from 5 to 8 for a fun time. We'll have food, games, and free bike helmets for kids. We also will celebrate Public Work Week on Tuesday, May 22nd from 4 to 7. This year, the event will be at the Mid-American Energy Recplex. We look forward to seeing everybody at these 2 great events. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Great job on your report. Excellent report. Okay, moving on to the City Attorney. See if she has a report. Any report at all? Madam City Attorney, Mrs. City Attorney?
No report, Mayor.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. All right, Councilman Hudson and friends.
Go right ahead.
I hope that everyone is enjoying this beautiful May weather. Beyond that, no report at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman, that's the most brief you've ever been. Thank you. Very succinct, very eloquent, much more so than you normally are. Thank you. Okay, Councilman McKinney.
We have an update for you on Bravo and a development and planning subcommittee this morning.
Well, thank you, Tessa. And Mayor, yes, just a couple of quick updates. I did not type these up in advance, so my apologies. But yes, we had a Bravo meeting with the board here about a week ago, and we were talking about the recent changes that are being considered. I think there was an article here recently about the changes that are occurring maybe at CVB, the Convention Visitors Bureau, as well as with Bravo. And we are hoping at Bravo we can continue to keep our community partners, our 2080 partners aligned to support Bravo going forward. So the idea is that we would have this wrapped up sometime this summer. And I think, if I'm understanding things correctly, both Bravo and CVB would be treated very similarly by our 2080 partners going forward. I also wanted to share that we had a development and planning meeting this morning, and there were 2 items that I want to bring to the council's attention for purposes of activities going forward. The first item relates to the development at I-35 and Grand Avenue. When we last got together a couple weeks ago, there was a conversation about the comprehensive plan as it relates to what the classification should be at I-35 and Grand Avenue on the southeast corner. And there were some questions about, whether particular residents had received notice. I know that we complied with all of our notice requirements. There's no question in my mind about that. However, there was some activity that led, I think, some folks to believe that they should have received an additional notice not required by law. So this morning we had a subcommittee on the development. And while there were neighbors present, the actual property owner didn't have any awareness, as far as we know, because they didn't receive any notice. Again, not that it was required. And so, as I brought up this morning, I felt a little uncomfortable taking action on an item that would, in this case, arguably negatively impact a large parcel of property. We were going to be making a formal recommendation on what to do, but the property owner was not noticed, was not present, and my concern was we'd end up back here at the council, at which point the property owner would technically receive the legal notice, and we'd be put right back in the same spot where they'd say, I didn't know this came before development and planning. Can we go back? So this morning, I made it, at least from my perspective, I felt it was appropriate that when property owners' interests are going to be changed, either through a zoning change or through a comprehensive plan change, they ought to be provided notice. And so I know that's my position, but I had asked our assistant deputy city attorney at that point in time to please provide the council a memo explaining what those legal requirements are and whether or not we in the city of West Des Moines want to adopt a change in our own ordinances that when we change somebody's zoning or when we change somebody's comprehensive plan classification, that we give them notice of that. If they don't want to show up, that's up to them. But I think we ought to we owe it to them to provide notice. That's, my opinion. And so I think you'll hopefully see some sort of memo on that, whether we want to change our formal practice or not. That'll be determined down the road. But wanted you to know that's where we landed this morning. And so we will have another development planning meeting, I think the first part of June, to address what we do with that property. The last item I would share is, I think everybody on the council is aware, I had some heartburn over the comprehensive plan that we adopted in 2022. And we kind of bifurcated it. We did some of our comprehensive plan in 2022, and then we did another set of our comprehensive plan in February of 2025. And I had asked, in 2022, I was concerned that we wouldn't have a zoning ordinance that we could adopt that would implement the comprehensive plan we adopted in 2022. I asked this morning when we might be able to see the zoning ordinance that would implement the comprehensive plan that we adopted in 2022. And it's my understanding that our vendor, this is by no fault of the staff, I make that very clear, not anything here, but what the problem is we won't have our zoning ordinances for another 6 to 12 months. So it might be till 2026 that we have the zoning ordinances to implement the comprehensive plan document that we adopted nearly 4 years ago at that time. So it's a bit frustrating. Again, I think there is certainly encouragement that we work to expedite that, but apparently we're limited by the vendor we're working with to be able to get it done within the timeframes that we had hoped. So two items that are not particularly exciting, but they are very relevant to the things that are happening in our community I wanted to share. So that's all I have at this time, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I would just say, and to the people in the audience that don't know, we've got city council subcommittees for just about everything. And it's two council people on each subcommittee as well as staff, and they do a ton of heavy lifting and a ton of work vetting the issues, going through all of the issues before they make it up here to the dais. They are just advisory. They can't make decisions, but they do a ton of work, and this is a perfect example of that. Two points in regards to some of the things that you brought up. There is a state of Iowa code requirement for notification, and we pride ourselves on following that. I'm all about giving as much notice as possible as we can to our residents. But we also pride ourselves on making sure that we are working to cut property taxes and keep West Des Moines affordable. And if we're providing notice to every single action that we do in the council, which, by the way, we do because everything is posted, if we have public hearings like we have tonight, and if we have everything we do is in public, we post those public meeting notices. But if we start, really changing the notice and start sending out all kinds of notice requirements for every single thing that we do, well, we better get prepared on the property tax rate, because that's going to be a significant investment in staff and time and money, getting those all out to everybody. And the other thing we better get ready to do is we better get ready to get sued, because we're following the state of Iowa, the code requirement that's set out in that, and providing notification based on that. If we start doing something different and we notice one person, we don't notice another person, you can better believe that person, if it impacts them enough, they're going to sue us, and we're probably going to lose. So there's a reason why we do what we do. If you're a property owner that didn't receive a notice, I understand that's really upsetting. I'd be upset myself, but we've got to follow the rules and the guidelines, and specifically the State Code of Iowa that outlines when we provide notices so that we don't get into big trouble and then cause all the taxpayers all kinds of money in a lawsuit. The other item that I would bring up is, I appreciate you delaying when we did not have, we were making a significant decision with the property owner not there. The item that we had at the last council meeting, that we did tons of public outreach on the comprehensive plan. We gave tons of notice. We got tons of feedback and input from all the affected property owners. But unfortunately, we failed to act at the last council meeting, thereby undoing what we had already voted on previously, now therefore having to change the zoning requirements on that property, which is now going to impact that property owner. I did have a discussion with that property owner. I did not notify him there was going to be a meeting this morning about it, unfortunately. But I appreciate you taking the time, getting it right, getting a hold of the property owner, letting them know what we're going to be doing here, giving a chance for everybody to have feedback and input in the process. That's important. And then the other thing I would say is that while we may not have the zoning code in place for these different areas where we've changed the comprehensive plan, I know we've got some sort of a matrix and staff has perfect direction on where to go on that. We do need to get that in place as soon as possible. That's important. I know you expressed frustration and doubt, and here we are later. You weren't wrong. But it's not like we're completely flying blind. So I just want to make sure people know that as well.
Mayor, I appreciate that. Just a point of clarification, in terms of the notice piece, the conversation this morning was very narrow in scope. What somebody brought up, well, what if we change somebody's ability to have a cat or a dog, or, the height of a fence? It was very narrow in scope. It was simply a matter if you take somebody's zoning change or comprehensive plan, because I'm very sensitive to what you're talking about. We don't want to be mailing out hundreds of thousands of dollars in notices every year, but, when you change somebody's zoning, it feels like you should at least give them notice.
Yep.
Maybe I'm off on the island there, but we'll see what the memo says.
Okay. I appreciate all the thought you put into it, Councilman. Okay. Councilwoman Hardman.
Thank you, Mayor. My report for Councilwoman Reese Hartman. Happy Cinco de Mayo, everyone. Councilwoman Hartman attended the celebration on Saturday in Valley Junction, where they announced the new king and queen of Cinco de Mayo. Congrats, Queen Francis Garrido. And congrats, King John Francis Munez. Thank you for your commitment to the city.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to add just a little bit. Thank you so much for the report. Great job. And I'd like to just add a couple of things. First of all, I want to lift up a program that is sponsored by the Chamber called Civic Connect. And this is a fairly new program where they invite various elected officials at all levels to come speak to interested citizens to ask questions. And so I want to thank the Chamber. I was a representative for that a couple Fridays ago, and just shared information about my journey as the first African-American woman elected to city council in 130-something years of West Des Moines, and a little bit about some of the things that I'm most proud of and some of the accomplishments that we have done as a team. I share it with them. It's a team sport. You can't get it by one vote. You really have to have the support of those that are sitting here on the dais. I want to also indicate that I am a member of the Planning and Development, so I was at the same meeting with Councilman McKinney, and we talked about these issues. And again, my feeling is that we all want to be transparent. We all want to follow what the code says. It was just brought to our attention too, just like the notice that went out to the 19,000 or so citizens that they thought were affected, cost over $10,000, just to provide a little bit of scope about what notices cost. And so there are some restrictions, but I am open to further dialogue about what we might be able to do to better serve our constituents. So more on that later. I won't reiterate what has been said by the two elected officials to my right. I will also lift up participating, and I want to lift up Councilman Hudson. He is a teacher at Valley, and as I've shared with him, a phenomenal teacher at Valley. You can tell by the kind of respect that his students give him. And was proud that he had 5 of individuals from City of West Des Moines talking into his class where they were teaching a lot about African American history. And he had 5 of us there talking to students, and it was we were rotating amongst all the youth so they can have experience with a lot of us. So Councilman Hudson, I appreciate being a part of that experience for the second time. It's a wonderful way to meet aspiring students that are all excited about their future, and a wonderful way to participate in hopefully trying to inspire students about life's journeys and trials and tribulations and challenges. So I want to thank you so much for that opportunity. It was the highlight of my day. That concludes my report, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. On to Councilman Trevilian.
Well, like Councilman McKinney, I didn't type anything up, so I'm going to have to give the presentation or the report myself. Yeah, on Saturday, the mayor and I and Councilwoman Hardman and myself were at the Cinco de Mayo celebration, and I had the honor of presenting the King and Queen. I've known John and Francis for, I don't know, 50-some years, so it was pretty special for me to be able to read their bios and present them as the King and Queen. It was ended up being a great day for the festivities. The morning we weren't quite sure about, but the afternoon and evening turned out great, and it was a great party, and it was great to see everybody down there honoring John and Francis. So with that, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Lotz.
My name is Zeta, and I'm here helping Councilman Doug. My report, Your Honor, is I want to thank both Hy-Vee, the State of Iowa Department of Agriculture, and city staff for the 2 wonderful grants we received on behalf of Legacy Woods. This project is going to be a wonderful addition to the city of West Des Moines, and I am happy to see momentum continue to build.
That's it, Your Honor. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilman. Very well done. Very well done. Okay. With that, I would just say that we did have an event at Legacy Woods. Councilman, thank you for reminding me of that. And thank you to Hy-Vee, and thank you to the Department of Ag and Secretary Nag, as well as Don Shane and Dan Houston and a number of people that are contributing to this awesome, awesome project. But we had a great event there, announced that we're going to be doing yet another water quality project to clean up our water and do our part on the environment. And it's going to be a great project. As I mentioned, this water quality issue is not just an issue for rural Iowa farmers. There are things that we can do as a city ourselves to clean up our water and be good stewards of our environment. And I'm really proud of all the things that we've done over the years. We don't often sit here and brag about all the different environmental things that we've done. But, I've had a number of people come up to me and ask me, what have you guys done for the environment? Well, let me tell you, we've got 3 pages of things that we can be proud of that I could rattle off. And oftentimes have. So really proud of this project. Appreciate the partnership from the state and with Hy-Vee and others in the private sector. Legacy Woods is going to be a phenomenal project when done. And as Councilman Trevilian and Councilwoman Hardman said, we had a great time out at the Cinco de Mayo Festival on May 3rd, El Tres de Mayo. A lot of people were out to celebrate, honoring the King and the Queen, and it's just a really fun event to celebrate Mexican culture, Mexican heritage, and I look forward to that every single year. So with that, we're going to move on to item 4, consent agenda. Are there any items that any council person would like to have polled and voted on separately? If not, I would just take a motion to approve the consent agenda as distributed.
Paul, 4Z.
Okay, 4Z. And I should ask, is there, okay, 4Z, which one in specific, Councilman? Are we talking about 4Z?
2 and 3, I'm not sure
Okay.
if there's people here for 1 and 4, but I
Okay,
think
but we have people here for 2 and 3. Is somebody here for the Child Care Provider Appreciation Day? Okay, I'll tell you what, I'm starting a new policy. If people aren't here for it, we're not going to read it and take everyone's time. So no one's here for item 4Z3. Kevin, is it okay if we don't read that one? Otherwise, okay. So we will pull 4Z2, Police Officer Week, May 12th through the 16th. Any other item that any council person like to have pulled on and voted separately? Okay, well, can I get a motion to approve the remainder?
Say so move. Got it? So move.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
5 yes.
Okay, that is approved. We're going to move on to item 4Z2. It is approval of proclamation for Police Officer Week, May 12th through the 16th, 2025. Can I get a motion to approve the proclamation?
So moved. So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded, and I will read. Whereas the law enforcement officers play an important role in the lives of all West Des Moines residents, and whereas public understanding of the duties and responsibilities of these officers is crucial to their effective performance, and whereas 222 Iowa peace officers have given their lives in the line of duty, including Marshal Anthony Swada and Sergeant Sean Miller from the West Des Moines Police Department. And whereas a Peace Officers Memorial Plaque was dedicated on May 12th, 1988, listing the names of those Iowa peace officers who gave their lives in protecting the rights and privileges of Iowa citizens, and to whom the Iowa Peace Officers Memorial was dedicated on May 15th, 1985. And whereas West Des Moines continues to maintain significantly lower crime rates than does both the state and the nation as a whole, which can be attributed in part to the dedication and effectiveness of the West Des Moines law enforcement officers. Now, therefore, I, Russ Trimble, Mayor of West Des Moines, do hereby proclaim May 12th through the 16th, 2025 as Police Officers Week, and do further proclaim Thursday, May 15th, 2025 as Police Officers Memorial Day in West Des Moines, and urge citizens to support law enforcement in and around the city to become better acquainted with the operations and personnel of local police agencies, and to honor those officers who have given their lives in the line of duty. With that, is there further discussion on this item? Okay, please vote.
Five yes.
All right, give me a second, and the officers who are here can meet us down front for a picture. I've just got to find and sign the proclamation in this stack of papers. Pretty easy to find because it's different colored papers, but. All right, here it is here.
What are we looking for?
Looking for this. Ryan, you're going to be missing a copy, I think. All right. Police officers here. Tony, that's you. Why don't you meet us down here? Get up and take a picture. Officer Wade, too. Well, just the council people. We'll have a fair amount of students just stay here and stay comfortable. So we will. Right by the mayor.
He's going to say, all right, moving on to old. All right.
Okay, moving on. Item 5, old business. Item 5A. We will have you read this. You want to lean in here, Lily? You're coming up to the mic. Oaks on Grand.
Oaks on Grand, 5785 Raccoon River Drive. Amend the zoning map to establish commercial zoning. JCG Equity LLC.
It's perfect. In here.
We've got an ordinance amendment for approval, the second reading, waiver of the third reading, and adoption in final from
Final
in the
form.
form,
Yep,
and
you're good.
there are no outstanding issues. This was also adopted unanimously
Unanimously. Yep.
unanimously by the council at our last meeting.
Okay. Does somebody want to move consideration of the second reading?
Motion to consider the
Motion.
second reading.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Okay, any discussion on the dais? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
Vote yes.
Five yes. An ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2024 by amending the Title 9 zoning, Chapter 4, zoning district and map.
Can I get a motion to approve the second reading?
Motion to approve the second reading.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Five yes.
Okay,
Motion to waive the third reading and adopt in final form.
okay, can I get a second?
Go ahead.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Five yes.
Okay, for this, I'm going to need Madam Mayor to come up here and help me out a little bit. Okay, item 6 is public hearings. Item 6A.
This is the time and place for a public hearing to consider Ashworth 88, southeast corner of Ashworth Road and 88th Street. Amend the planned unit development, PUD, ordinance to adjust parking and building setback requirements and construction timing of internal private streets, initiated by Casey's Inc. Clerk, would you please read the date and notice, the date the notice was published?
April 18, 2025 in Des Moines Register.
Have we received any written comments to this hearing?
The Plan and Zoning Commission, by a vote of 6 yes with the absent, adopted a resolution recommending approval of the PUD amendment.
As for verbal comments from the audience, please come to the microphone, give your name and address for the record.
Okay, anybody in the audience that would like to address the council on item 6A, please come to the podium, give us your name and address as record. Anybody online, hit star 6 to unmute yourself and do the same. Is there anybody in the audience or online that would like to address the council on item 6A? All right, come on up.
Good evening, I'm Daniel Welrick with Pels Design Services, 2323 Dixon Street in Des Moines. I'm here representing the client, or my clients, just asking for the approval of this PUD. Really, we didn't change anything substantially, we just added a little more definition to what was there. and so I'm here to answer any questions that you guys might have. So.
Okay, thank you, Daniel, appreciate it. Is there anybody else that would like to address the council on item 6A, either in the audience or online? Okay, hearing none, I will declare the public hearing closed, and we've got an ordinance amendment for approval of the first reading, and there are no outstanding issues. Does somebody want to move consideration of the first reading?
Move consideration of the first reading.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion on the dais?
Sure.
Okay.
First
Councilman
off,
Hudson.
kids, great job. You're doing an awesome job. And so I have a couple comments about this particular one. Speaking to a few residents, the first thing I want to do is thank Casey's for being a great community partner to the city of West Des Moines, and really the entire metropolitan area, the entire state of Iowa, and across the country, because I think everybody enjoys a good Casey's slice of pizza. There are 6 Casey's in West Des Moines or adjacent to intersections in the city of West Des Moines. And if you don't know where they are near Grand and E.P. True. There's near Grand and First. There are Mills Civic in the Jordan Creek area, 22nd and University. And then there are 2 more on Railroad and 8th, and another at the intersection of 92nd and University, which is intersection adjacent to West Des Moines.
This man is serious about his pizza eating.
So I'm going to make one amendment to this PUD. It's going to be a request that we change it from 11 o'clock to 10 o'clock. And I just wanted to share why. I think there's a lot of opportunities to maybe take it back to 11 o'clock or longer in the future time period. I know it's right next to an interstate, but there's no interchange right now. In the area between Grand Prairie Parkway and Jordan Creek, there's no commercial activity at all. There's one gardening center at 88th and Ashworth, but that's more of a day-to-day activity. And so when it comes to like a later night, when it comes to lights, when it comes to busyness, I've spoken to a few neighbors in the area, and they would be appreciative if it went from 11 o'clock to 10 o'clock. So I'm going to call for a motion here in a second. But like I said, it doesn't preclude any changes from happening in the future. I think what we're trying to do with this amendment is simply aligning to where we are at the moment. And where we are at the moment, as I mentioned, these 6 different cases, I think we have 4 in commercial areas, the Grand and E.P. True, there's no residential. Grand and First Street, there's no residential nearby. Mills in the Jordan Creek area, no residential. And 22nd University, there's no residential nearby. But at Railroad and 8th, there's residential immediately behind that. There are houses. And at the intersection of 92nd University, there are also, I know that's in Waukee, however, it's right at the intersection, and there are also residential areas right behind it. I actually spoke to a Waukee resident about the 92nd University cases, and I was just asking a couple questions. And they were saying that, sometimes it actually closes before 10 p.m., so I can't speak to the hours exactly. I did drive by 9:45 on Friday night, and it was closed, and this particular neighbor appreciated that it was closing because of the lights and the trafficness, and the neighbors appreciated that. And since I know Casey's is always a good neighbor, and so that's why I think that to be a good neighbor at this spot, if we made it 10 p.m., that would align really, really well with the other residential cases. If we want to bifurcate those cases into 2 different zones, commercial zones, the first 4 that I mentioned, and the ones that are near residential areas, Railroad and 8th, and intersection of 92nd University, I think a 10 p.m. would work out really well since there's no other commercial activities in the neighborhood. I know an hour is not a huge deal, but I know the residents in the area might appreciate that. Thus my amendment. And so Mr. Mayor, I believe we make a motion. Is that correct?
Well, the problem, Councilman, we've already made a motion. We got a motion and a second. And so we'd have to have whoever made the motion, whoever made the second, walk those back, which I can ask for in a second. But, and you and I have had a conversation about this. And I will just say, I respect everybody up here on this dais, and everybody is doing the best they can to represent the people. And we always have, everything comes down to trying to balance things between business and residents. And we've tried to do that. And I think we've done a good job at that over the I don't know, 15, 16 years I've been on the council. Where I would be resistant to what you're trying to do here is that in the times where we've looked to do this, we have set a precedent of 11 o'clock. We had that with the Walmart that moved in on Mill Civic Parkway. We recently had residents at Glen Oaks that were upset about the Come and Go that was locating down south of them. They argued for that to close earlier. We did 11 o'clock there. I'm worried that if we break precedent, we start going 10 o'clock, where does it stop? And we need to give business a chance to operate. I think that the Casey's that you're referring to and the hours of operation they had, that was a business decision by them after looking at, their customers and when they were doing business and paying their staff and what made sense for them. I think they are good neighbors. I think they will take this entire conversation into consideration. But I think if we start setting another precedent other than 11 o'clock, we're going to be asking for it. We're going to be sitting here talking about 9 o'clock on the next one, 8 on the next one, and I don't know where we draw the line and where we stop. So with that, I guess.
Mayor, if I could make a clarification. Right now, we're on the motion for consideration of the first reading.
Okay.
So any amendments could be made on the subsequent motion for approval of the first
approval.
reading.
Okay.
So we can do this
Okay.
one without any amendments. It would be the next one.
Okay, so the next one, we can have an amendment done. Okay, so I will ask for a motion,
So yeah,
Councilman.
and to that point, I think those other two cases that are more in the residential do close at 10 p.m. And that's why that specific request is being made at this time to better align with, I think, two different things. And I understand what you're saying, Mr. Mayor, I really do. And I appreciate that. But I think the conversation, when does it go till 9? Then it goes till 8, then it goes to 7. I don't think that's something that I predict happening in the future, only because to have a gas station close at 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, I think now we're just getting into a place that I don't think will ever wind up. And I appreciate it and I respect it. And like I said, I believe our folks at Casey have always been excellent neighbors. And that's why I shared all the stuff that I did before, because I do believe that. And so that's why I'm making this amendment, because I think it would be appropriate to better align with other things going on in the rest of our city. And so now, if there was a situation where Casey's were all closing at 11 o'clock, I don't think I would be saying this at all, but if we have an opportunity to try to balance this, as you said, Mr. Mayor, that's why I'm making this specific amendment. And I wanted to say one more time, if we need to realign this in the future because of things that do happen, if there's something that happens, if there's more developed in the area, if there's more need, if whatever it might be, there's an interchange, we're absolutely open to changing this PUD, because we can absolutely change those PUDs in the future. And so that's why I'm making this specific amendment at this moment, because assuming if it went through to become 10 p.m., I would be supportive of this. And but I might, let's just see what happens at this
Okay,
moment.
so we'll do your amendment after we consider this, the first reading, then I will come back to you on the approval of the first reading. Okay, any other discussion, further discussion?
So this first vote is?
This is as is, this is 11.
As it is,
Yeah,
5
as is to
a.m. to
consider,
11.
to consider, yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
to consider. Yep.
yep. Okay, any other discussion? Councilman
Yeah,
McKinney?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Hudson, first of all, I appreciate you bringing it forward. I know you care deeply. You've talked to your residents in Ward 2 and spent some time considering this. Clearly, even talked to a Waukee resident as well. I can tell you that actually, Mayor, I think the Come and Go there at the corner of Grand and roughly 60th, not quite 60th, but just outside of Glen Oaks, I think it's actually 24 hours. And we did hear a lot of concerns at the outset. And I can tell you that I received a lot of personal, phone calls and emails about not approving that. And the reality is, at the end of the day, since it's been open for, a year plus, we haven't received any complaints. I also have not, in talking to a lot of folks across the city, I have also not received any complaints about any other, whether it's a Come and Go or a Casey's or others, creating a nuisance, so to speak. And I'm not saying that you're saying that. I'm just saying that, I recognize that, the other night I was up at Triumph Park in Waukee, and we didn't get done off the softball fields until about 9:30. It was late, and I got home just around 10 o'clock. And, you know, it's not uncommon I was surprised, to be honest with you, but for my family, because of our sports activities and other things, so we get home 9:30, 10 o'clock. It's not my preference, just the reality of how it works. And if this facility would have been closed, it would have been, difficult to stop in and grab something quick, whether it's a gallon of milk, a slice of pizza, or they're filling up the car. And so I think we've got a lot of folks that work in odd hours, and having an extra hour till 11 p.m. Certainly would help benefit a lot of folks. And I think we considered this morning at development planning, this came up. And one of the things was we looked at the map. And the reality is, I think there are very few folks that would be directly impacted. I would very much be interested if we needed to look at additional berming or additional greenery or ways to screen it. I'd be very much interested in looking at that. But I don't think it's unreasonable. Obviously, went through planning and zoning. I think a similar item was considered at planning and zoning, and the P&Z approved it, as we heard, 6-0 most recently with the 11 p.m. closing. So certainly respect and understand your position. I'd resist it at this point. If in the future there is a problem, whether it's sound or activity or something like lighting, I think we could certainly, as you say, revisit it. But at this point, I'd be comfortable with it as is.
Yeah, and I would echo what Councilman McKinney said and what Councilman Hudson said, just real quick, and that is that if we make this 11 now and there's an issue, we can always revisit it and take it down to 10 if need be, right? But I think if you make it 10 now, changing it to 11, that's not going to happen. It'd be a lot harder to go the other way around. But anyway, who else? Somebody else said it. Councilman Trevelyan, sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I will argue that last statement, Your Honor. I think it's going to be easier to move it from 10 to 11 than to claw it back if they open at 11 and then there's issues come up. I don't see it reverting back to then 10 o'clock. And I think the precedent has already been set in the fact that we've got Casey's that are adjacent to residential that close at 10. So as Councilman Hudson said, if all of the Casey's closed at 11 and they're advocating that this one close at 10, that's a whole different story. But I think the precedent's already been set, and so I will support Councilman Hudson on this 10 o'clock closing. I think that's the more realistic way to go.
Okay, is there further discussion on the dais before we vote? All right, please vote.
So this is just to clarify, this is just
a vote to consider.
To consider, not the actual action
Right,
of 10 or 11.
right.
Yes.
Five yes.
Okay, now I would, go ahead.
An ordinance amending the city code of the City of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2024 in the Ashworth 88 PUD ordinance pertaining to planned unit development district regulations and guidelines.
Okay, now I would ask.
I will make a motion to amend to change it from 11 o'clock to 10 o'clock, the PUD specifically, in that portion of the PUD.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion?
I think for Councilman McKinney, I appreciate what you're saying too. And I think we're having a very respectful dialogue about this. And for the folks up at Glen Oaks, I do, and I'm really, really happy that there has not been too many complaints about this, the come and go that's specifically down below them. I will say the residents in this area do not have the extra elevation because it's quite above, and they don't have that extra forestry. Now, I will, depending on how this vote goes, I will, of course, entertain Councilman McKinney, what you said, if like additional berming work needs to be done or additional blockage. And actually, would it be, Mr. Mayor, could we call Daniel up there to ask about that? Can I ask a question for you, sir? Thank you very much, Daniel. I appreciate it.
Councilman, I think the additional bermage and what you're discussing.
Well, this is what Councilman McKinney had said.
If you leave it at 11, but are you talking about doing
exactly.
10 o'clock and additional bermage?
No, I wanted to see what Daniel and his client would think about additional berming and or blockage different from the PUD per what Councilman McKinney said, because it's not something I thought about. Thank you very much for sharing.
Sure. I guess what I'd say to that is, if we think about the PUD in its entirety and all of the property that's a part of that is being proposed to be potentially developed, I mean, there's 1,000 feet of space between the Casey's and the residents to the east that would be filled in with additional businesses, assuming everything is successful in terms of development of the property. So, I mean, whether we put some more berming or some trees or whatever in there, you know, those buildings at some point will act that way. I mean, the only ones that are probably the most affected would be that new apartment building that was just put in directly right there. I don't suppose if we needed to add a little bit more landscaping between the Casey's and that, we certainly would be open to exploring that in order to allow Casey's to have sort of hours that lets them make their business decisions relative to how they operate. So.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And Councilman McKinney, thank you for bringing that up a little bit earlier because it's not something I had thought about, but thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that.
Okay, is there further discussion before we vote? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
3 yes, 2 no.
Okay, can I get a motion? I'm sorry, do we have a second?
That's approval
Okay,
of
just first reading? Okay, the item is approved. Move on to item 6B, and I'm going to do this one because I know the students, we're trying to get them out of here by 6:30. So this is the time and the place for a public hearing to consider conveyance of property comprising approximately 21.29 acres located along the south side of I-80 and Grand Prairie Parkway to the Iowa Department of Transportation initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice is published?
April 29th, 2025 in West Des Moines, in the West Des Moines Register.
And Ryan, have you received any written comments to this hearing?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody from the audience that would like to address the council on item 6B, please come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record. Anybody online, hit *6 to unmute yourself and do the same. Is there anybody either online or in the chamber that would like to address the council on item 6B? Okay, hearing and seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. And we've got a resolution for approval of conveyance of the property interest, and there are no outstanding issues.
Move approval.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Five yes.
Okay, item 6C. Madam Mayor, could you help out on this one, please? Here you go.
This is the time and place for a public hearing to consider Highgate Sanitary Sewer initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Clerk, would you please read the date the notice was published?
April 18th, 2025 in Des Moines Register.
Have we received any written comments to this hearing?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody in the audience who would like to address the council on item 6C, please come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record. Anybody online, hit *6 to unmute yourself and do the same. Is there anybody in the chamber or online that would like to address the council on item 6C? Okay, hearing and seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. We've got two resolutions and a motion, so we can take at the same time, and there are no outstanding issues.
Move approval. Approval. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
Five yes.
Okay, item 6D. Madam Mayor, if you could please assist.
This is the time and place for a public hearing to consider Valley Junction Alley improvements, Phase 9, initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Clerk, would you please read the date the notice was published?
April 18th, 2025 in the Des Moines Register.
Have we received any written comments to this hearing?
None, Your Honor.
All right, anybody from the audience who would like to address the council on this item, please come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record. Anybody online, hit *6 to unmute yourself and do the same. Is there anybody wishing to address the council on this item? Oh, we hear a bell. Okay, hearing and seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. And once again, we've got two resolutions and motions we can take at the same time, and there are no outstanding issues.
Motion for approval.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the dais? Hearing none, please vote.
Five yes.
Okay, that item is approved. We now move on to item 7, new business, item 7A, and I need the assistance of my mayor, please.
122 Fifth Street, approve a site plan and associated legal documents, including a license agreement for construction staging to allow construction of a new commercial building. Forest Ave Properties LLC.
Okay, and we've got a,
We've got a resolution for approval of the site plan and acceptance of associated legal documents, and there are no outstanding issues.
thank you so much. And there are, however, 3 conditions of approval. One relates to the applicant requiring to submit and receive approval for a minor modification if it intends to serve alcohol on an outdoor patio. Another one relates to the applicant receiving road closure permits from the city prior to closing the road for placement of the crane. And another one relates to temporary construction easements that must be obtained from the adjacent property owners prior to the issuance of a building permit. And with that, do we have approval of the resolution?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this item? Is there anybody from the audience before we have discussion on the dais? Anybody from the audience or online that would like to address the council on this item? Okay, any discussion on the dais? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
Five yes.
Mayor, just on that item, I do want to say that I am appreciative of the fact that this development is going to be consistent with the design guidelines that were adopted by, well, not technically adopted, but approved by the council. And I know that, Councilwoman Hardman, I think Councilman Trevilian, you guys spent time on that steering committee, and this is a sort of good work that comes after you have issues. You address them and you come back and you put forward a project that, fits the fabric and the feel of the neighborhood. So thank you to the folks that put the time in to get those design guidelines in place, and to the applicant here for conforming with those guidelines.
No doubt, well said. There was a lot of time put in on that committee by Councilman Hardman and Councilman Trevilian, as well as Clyde Evans and our economic development staff, as well as a number of others, citizens, and you name it. Lots of feedback, lots of input, great process. And Steve as well. Yep, Steve Freevert. A lot of work went into that, and we came up with a great product at the end. So, and Vicky too. Where's Vicky? I see Vicky back there. Dr. Longhill. So thank you to everybody that put in so much time to get this right. All right, with that, please vote. Oh, we voted, okay. This one's- Okay, sorry, we voted. We're going backwards. We're going backwards. I don't want to revote. Okay, with that, item 8, move on to item 8, receive, file, and/or refer. There's no items to receive, file, or refer. Item 9, other matters. Are there any other matters that any council person would like to bring up at this point for the good of the order?
I just want to remind everybody, if anybody that's listening online or in the audience, that on Thursday from 5 to 8 at the Recplex is going to be the open house to talk about the feasibility study for the bridges over Raccoon River. I encourage anyone that's interested in that to show up for the open house anytime between 5 and 8 and find out the results of that study.
Yep.
I will be in attendance. I don't know who else is going to be there, but I will be there as well. So.
Perfect. Thank you, Councilman. Anything else for the good of the order? Okay, so with nothing else to come before the council, I do want to say thank you to our Fair Meadow students who are here today. This is one of our favorite days of the year, having the students here with us, the city manager down there, and our city attorney, and all the council people, Madam Mayor over here who did an excellent job, much better than I ever would do. And we've got our clerks down there. So thank you to all the students. And we are going to adjourn here, and we're going to provide a certificate of recognition to all of our students. So if you could join us, students down here, and we'll get pictures and hand out certificates. With that, Madam Mayor, could you please take us out of the meeting and adjourn us?
Slightly.